Lance, we're going to start with the Steelers. And the Steelers, they got some pretty good offensive linemen. First one, Troy Fautanu from Penn State. What did you see with him, and what do you like?
Well, he's out of Washington. He's 6 foot, 6'4", about 317. What I like about him is he got elite feet. So when I look at some of these draft picks, you're going to see here on his pass protection, these draft picks by the Steelers, for me, they really kind of are going to help them when they face the Browns, right? So this Fautanu, he has great feet. He's super light on his feet. He's a great pass protector. I had him as my number one pass protecting tackle in the draft. His ability to get out of his stance is fantastic. He's one of those guys who ran a 5.0 40-yard dash. He had a 32.5-inch vertical leap, 29 reps on bench. So he's a really complete guy. He's not great in the run game, but he's very good on the edge. And the Steelers need help on the edge with the likes of Myles Garrett and Za'Darius Smith. So this first pick is just based on his ceiling is so high. For me, rarely people do not draft in the NFL like the Steelers. The Steelers have a knack of finding guys they need and guys that fit their mold. Fautanu's they need at left tackle. I expect him to start early and be a real force for the Steelers.
Yeah, 317 pounds and a 1.71 10-yard split. So that's pretty good. The other guy, the second round, they come right back and they go interior that offensive line, trying to short up with Zach Frazier. A center who's 313 pounds. What'd you see with Frazier?
Well, this is the guy that totally fits. You're going to see him here, number 54. He's going to get his right arm in here. They're going to run an outside zone. He's going to get a right arm in and just kind of be an athlete and run his feet. And that's really perfect technique on an outside zone. He's got a head-up nose guard, zero technique. He's going to step with his left foot. Now, there's a couple things. Every position I watch, it's not always about the best guy. It's about, sometimes it's about the guy who just is a football player. This guy, Frazier, is a football player. He's a four-time state champ in high school as a wrestler. And I will tell you, from 20-plus years of coaching in high school, wrestlers are a different animal. They are a different breed. Their toughness, their toughness is at another level for me. And you see this at the center. He's very good in pass protection. Gave up 0 sacks last year. He's very good in the run game. But this is a guy, for me, that fits the Steelers' mentality and a guy that's going to help them with Tomlinson and Shelby Harris and all these guys the Browns got inside. This is why they went out and got this guy to help with the movement inside. The Steelers got to get back to run the ball. This is the guy that will help them.
The next couple of guys that we're going to talk about the Steelers drafting were guys that we talked about with the Browns. Roman Wilson, wide receiver from Michigan, 5'10", about 186 pounds. What'd you see with Wilson when you looked at his film again?
This guy's going to give you elite athletic skills. He's real fast, 4.3 40 guy. He comes from a pro offense. So you're going to see here he's in a stack concept. He's going to run a smash concept, which is a corner route up to the top. J.J. McCarthy throws a great ball. This is what you see him do. He had a ton of touchdowns last year at Michigan. His numbers weren't through the roof, but that's because Michigan is a run-first team with great offensive linemen. 7 of those guys are playing in the NFL this year from last year's team. And they really spread the wealth. But he understands coming out of a huddle. He understands coverage. He understands leverage. He's much more athletic than people thought he was. He tested very well. And again, this is going to remind people of Hines Ward, in my opinion. When I watch him, I think of Hines Ward, his ability to block, his toughness, his ability to be a football player. He's a receiver. He's not a pass catcher. And I used to say that to my kids all the time. Being a pass catcher is one thing. Being a receiver is another. This guy, Roman Wilson, does everything well, including block, which is big in the NFL. So really like this pick. They need some help on the outside with their new quarterbacks, and Roman Wilson should give them that help.
Yeah, I saw the note that you made. You thought he would have a quick learning curve just based on playing in the offense, playing for Jim Harbaugh. You think the transition to the NFL will be a little easier because of that?
Well, yeah, and the verbiage, right? So not only does he come out of a huddle, so a lot of those guys in college, even in high school, they're not in a huddle very much anymore. So they get all their hand signals, even though the signals will be gone this year with college going to the headsets in the helmet. It's just the idea that they're not always up pace. They're not always, the Michigan Wolverines ran a pro offense, multiple long play calls in the huddle. They killed plays and ran 2 plays at once, et cetera, et cetera. So that offense gives him the ability to run different routes from different positions. And it's just a learning curve that he won't have compared to some of those guys coming in who are just on one side of the ball in a no-huddle, fast-paced offense like most colleges' offense are now.
So the Steelers' second third-round pick is one that I know you like a lot, Peyton Wilson, linebacker from North Carolina State.
Well, the good thing is I get to talking about him again. So this is hopefully I'll get some more on, but this is him against Connor Trey. He plays anywhere and everywhere. Now, if there's a guy who fits the Steelers mold to me, it's this guy. And obviously, I just do the film stuff, and I'm a football guy, and I'm very well aware, and I agree with the type of money they have in the NFL about his age at 24 years old, some of the knee injuries and shoulder injuries he had early in his career. But I will tell you that I watch a lot of film, and there's not one guy in the last 2 or 3 years that's been more impressive on film than this guy. Peyton Wilson is an absolute football player. 138 tackles, tackle for loss, sacks, tackles in the open field. He does everything well. And I think this guy fits the mold of what the Steelers want in the middle of their defense. I think this guy is going to play from day one, and I think he's going to be really good. He's going to be a guy that a lot of NFL teams will be very sorry they did not draft. Elite talent, 6'4", 230, can run, has all the measurables. Those measurables match up on the film. I know I'm biased, but this guy is a heck of a football player, and I think he's a guy that's going to give the Browns problems, especially in the run game.
So in the fourth round, again, the Steelers come back, and another offensive lineman, a guy we talked about, the Browns potentially looking at as well, and Mason McCormick, over 300 pounds, out of South Dakota State, 6'4", 309, so a big guy.
So whatever they're doing at the Nakotas, you're going to see him cut off here. He is a drive blocking specialist. So you're going to see him. Iowa's going to run a blitz. He's at the left guard, and he's going to pick up that blitz right on the hash mark. He's very smart. He's very football smart. He has a very high IQ. And like I said, those Dakota schools, North Dakota State, South Dakota State, and all those FBS, Division I AA, I still call them because I'm older, but they have a tendency to get these guys who come in with these long bodies, and then they work out and they get to a high level. And this guy is a major athlete. You're talking 35.5-inch vertical leap, 117-inch broad jump. He benched very well. He's very nasty at the point of attack. So he does have a little bit of learning to do, especially in pass protection. But when you talk about him and Zach Frazier being next to each other, you're talking about two guys that rely on being nasty when they block. They're not trying to get their hands right or their feet right. They're trying to knock the guy down in front of them. And that's very big in the Steelers offense. The Steelers want to impose their will, kind of like what the Browns offensive line has done the last couple years. And I think the Steelers are going to try to get back to that. They're going to try to run the ball, Najee Harris and Warren, and they need some linemen. And this is a guy who might not start. I don't think he'll start. I think Frazier and Fontenot are going to start early. But I think this guy will be starting sooner than later, and they're going to have three guys that they have anchoring their offensive line for years. So, again, really tough guy, fits the mold for what the Steelers want.